Neville Goddard passionately declares, "Unleash the immense potential of your imagination now." We often blame our unhappiness on adverse circumstances, failing to recognize that these circumstances are a reflection of our mental state. Contrary to the belief that our situations cause our unhappiness, it is, in fact, our unhappiness that shapes our situations. Understanding this, we realize that our emotional states, whether excitement or sorrow, are the breeding ground for all that we manifest. I emphasize, the workings of our imagination lay the groundwork for everything that materializes in our lives. By accepting this principle, one grasps that to have something, one must first be in the state of having it in their existence. It's fascinating to observe that the mere anticipation of joy before an event can actually lead to its realization. Significantly, it's acknowledged that happiness is not determined by our external conditions alone. If that were the case, the high rates of depression among those in affluent circumstances, who possess every imaginable luxury, would be inexplicable. Let me share the story of Mrs. Beatrice, which sheds light on this principle of living one's desires in advance. Beatrice reflects on the idea that fairy tales are often dismissed as just stories for children, wondering, are they really only for kids? This reflection comes from her own life experience, which resembles a fairy tale, made real through her unwavering belief in the possibility of such stories, even in adulthood. For both Beatrice and me, imagination is the creator of our reality, limitless in its capacity, suggesting that our reality should know no bounds as well. Her fairy tale began in a time of unemployment, without family support, and in dire need of a dependable car for job opportunities, as her own car was barely functional. Faced with overdue rent and outdated clothing, the prospect of job hunting at the age of 55 seemed insurmountable. With minimal savings and no one to turn to for financial help, Beatrice, after a year of attending my workshops, leaned into her imagination. Overwhelmed by her needs and unsure of where to start, she chose to believe in the immediate manifestation of something wonderful. "What a joy, what a wonder," she would murmur to herself before drifting off to sleep, instilling the sensation of her desires being fulfilled. This nightly practice went on for 2 months until an early October encounter with a long-lost acquaintance led to an unforeseen financial blessing. This friend, who was planning a trip to New York, unexpectedly gave her a check for $2,500, a gift from a mutual friend they hadn't seen in over 2 decades, who had chosen to share his fortune. This generous act allowed Beatrice to cover her essential needs, purchase a new vehicle, and move into a spacious apartment, easing her employment search. She has recently been assured of ongoing financial support. Another story involves Mrs. Joanna, who, a year prior, traveled to see her daughter Avila in San Francisco from Los Angeles, expecting to find her in her usual spirits. Instead, she found Avila battling severe depression due to immediate financial pressures. While not affluent, Joanna was not in a position to readily provide the $3,000 needed. Knowing her daughter's hesitance to accept direct help, Joanna suggested a loan, but Avila opted to trust in the power of assumption, a concept she had absorbed from my teachings. Together, they envisioned an abundance of money surrounding them, focusing on the feeling of joy rather than the method of obtaining it. This mental pivot soon altered their reality. Joanna returned to Los Angeles, only to be called by her 91-year-old mother, who, without knowledge of Avila's financial distress, decided to give her $3,000 for Avila. Was this just a coincidence, or the result of a changed mindset? Our last account today is of Mrs. Anna, who, inspired by a talk, revisited the old practice of buying warts to make them disappear. Her son, who had been troubled by warts for years, agreed to a playful exchange. Anna would buy the warts, which then, by agreement, could not stay. This seemingly light-hearted method led to the warts vanishing within 10 days, leaving no marks after a month. These stories highlight the transformative power of imagination and the significant influence our mental states have on our reality. By mastering our emotions, we can design our fate, aligning our future with our deepest wishes and sentiments. This anthology of stories emphasizes the concept that by controlling our emotional responses, we become the conscious creators of our destiny, shaping our future through our feelings and expectations. Neville Goddard fervently proclaims, "Now is the moment to unlock the immense potential of your imagination." We often blame our unhappiness on negative circumstances, overlooking the fact that these circumstances are in fact reflections of our own emotional state. It's a widespread misunderstanding to believe that bad situations cause unhappiness. Instead, our unhappiness generates these situations. Understanding this reveals that our emotional states, be they positive or negative, are the bedrock of all creation. I reiterate, it is through the acts of imagination that everything comes into being. Embracing this idea, one realizes that to exist is to have. It's fascinating to acknowledge that we can feel joy before a joyous event happens, thereby encouraging its realization. Furthermore, it's vital to understand that happiness is not purely dependent on external factors. If it were, we wouldn't witness many individuals engulfed in sorrow despite living in luxury and having access to every imaginable amenity designed to promote happiness. Let's delve into Mrs. Beatrice's tale, which serves as a powerful illustration of living one's dreams as if they have already manifested. Beatrice wonders if fairy tales are solely meant for children, asking, "Are they really just for the young?" This question stems from her own experience, which resembles a fairy tale brought to life through her unwavering belief in the possibility of such stories, even in adulthood. For both Beatrice and me, imagination is the source of all reality. Unrestricted by boundaries, imagination implies that reality should be limitless as well. Beatrice's story takes place during a time of joblessness, without family support, and in urgent need of a dependable car for job opportunities, as her vehicle was on its last legs. Facing overdue rent and lacking appropriate attire for job interviews at 55, with minimal savings and no one to ask for financial help, Beatrice, after nearly a year of absorbing my teachings, turned to her imagination for comfort. Overwhelmed by her needs and unsure of where to begin, she chose to believe in the immediate realization of something wonderful. "What joy, what a wonder," she repeated to herself every night, invoking the feeling of a wish fulfilled. She continued this practice for 2 months, until an unexpected meeting with a former friend in early October. He talked about an upcoming trip to New York. They exchanged casual remarks about the city before parting ways, with Beatrice briefly forgetting the encounter, until months later, when he handed her a check for $2,500. The surprise turned to understanding when it was revealed that the check was a gift from a mutual friend they hadn't seen in over 25 years. This friend, having made a fortune, decided to share some of it with Beatrice for reasons unknown to her. This act allowed Beatrice to meet her immediate needs, purchase a new car, and find comfortable housing without the immediate need for employment. She has even recently been assured of continued financial support. Another story features Mrs. Joanna, which began a year ago as she traveled from Los Angeles to San Francisco to see her daughter Avila. Expecting the usual warmth and happiness, Joanna instead found her daughter suffering from severe depression, caused by a critical financial situation that needed an urgent $3,000. While not destitute, Joanna didn't have immediate access to such funds. Aware that her daughter would reject direct financial help, Joanna suggested taking out a loan in her name, but Avila decided to address the problem her way, through the power of belief, inspired by my teachings and viewing her situation as a chance to apply these principles. Joanna accepted the challenge, involving her daughter in the process. Together, they visualized a reality where financial abundance came easily to them, basking in the sensation of prosperity and the happiness it brought, without worrying about how it would come to pass. This change in mindset soon transformed their reality. Upon her return to Los Angeles, Joanna got an urgent call from her 91-year-old mother, asking for her visit. Despite the fatigue of travel, Joanna went and was presented with a $3,000 check for her granddaughter. Her mother, oblivious to Avila's financial woes, had decided on this generous gift as a token of her love. Was this simply a coincidence, or the manifestation of a shifted emotional state? The answer to this question demonstrates the level of influence we allow in our lives. Those skilled in utilizing their imagination for personal advantage and the welfare of their loved ones discover endless possibilities. By mastering our emotional terrain, we establish the foundation for our fate, molding the future to match our deepest feelings. In today's final story, we turn our attention to Mrs. Anna, who, inspired by a lecture she attended, remembered a quaint technique for eradicating warts. This method involved buying the warts off the person afflicted, leading to their eventual disappearance. Her son, a young lad of 10, had been plagued by several prominent and unsightly warts on his leg for quite some time. With resolve, Anna proposed a playful yet unorthodox method to her son. She offered to purchase each wart from him, under the premise that once sold, the warts would cease to be his and, as such, should disappear. This approach, evoking the charm of a fairy tale, resulted in the warts disappearing within just 10 days, completely gone by the end of a month. The idea that our imagination can profoundly influence our reality may seem to some as a flight of fancy or overly optimistic. Yet, this notion is deeply rooted in the annals of psychology and philosophy throughout the ages. Neville Goddard, a pioneer in underscoring the power of imagination, invites us to rethink our perception of reality and how we interact with it. This concept holds relevance not only during times of adversity but in all aspects of life, from the trivial to the significant. For example, the impact of a positive mental attitude on health is well established. Studies have repeatedly shown that individuals with a hopeful, positive outlook tend to enjoy better health outcomes, including longer lifespans and fewer chronic diseases. This link between our mental and physical states illustrates how our emotional well-being, and by extension, our imagination, significantly influences our physical health. In the realm of professional success, the importance of visualization and a positive mindset is universally recognized. Many top athletes, successful entrepreneurs, and acclaimed artists attribute part of their success to the practice of envisioning their goals in a positive light and maintaining an attitude of confidence and optimism. This does not negate the necessity of hard work but highlights how our approach to challenges can markedly affect our achievements. The story of Beatrice exemplifies how, against overwhelming odds, a positive outlook and the ability to envision a different reality opened doors to opportunities that otherwise might have remained hidden. A critical turning point was the unexpected generosity of a long-lost acquaintance, but it was ultimately her mindset that paved the way for this chance encounter. The shared experience of Joanna and Avila illustrates the amplifying power of imagination and a positive outlook, not only altering their financial circumstances but also strengthening their relationship and demonstrating their capacity to co-create their reality. Anna's inventive method of addressing her son's health concern showcases an unconventional means of affecting physical reality, defying conventional wisdom. This strategy not only led to the elimination of the warts but also taught a valuable lesson about the power of attitude and imagination. Although these stories may seem remarkable, they highlight how imagination, combined with a positive mindset, can lead to significant and sometimes surprising changes in our reality. They affirm the idea that while we may not control every external event, we do have the power to choose our responses. By doing so, we not only change our perception of reality but also have the capacity to alter reality itself. Neville Goddard's encouragement to harness our imagination is essentially a call to take conscious control of our lives and to shape our reality in partnership with the universe. Acknowledging that our emotions and imagination are the sources of creation, we realize that we are not merely at the mercy of external circumstances but are, in fact, architects of our experiences. The key message is clear: by fostering a positive mindset and actively engaging our imagination, we not only improve our own lives but also inspire and aid others in doing the same. It serves as a powerful reminder that, regardless of our situation, we hold the innate capacity to envision and bring forth a better reality.